sound a little weird.
That's our Chris and Jeremy! Big old Draco Henna! Darren Steve Lupo! Sasuke Nene! Malcolm Ray Morton! And
the best people of all. The people who keep us lubricated and inebriated.
Yeah.
yes, the beard owners. Alrighty. Well.
Oh, even better. Beard owners that are also beard owners.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, for this special edition unscheduled event. Before we get into... Oh, yes?
Well, I was going to say special event because some things just can't wait.
Indeed. Indeed. There are things that demand a response. And hell, it would be impolite not to accept. So, you know. Anyway, let's see. I believe we're going to start out with some light fare here before we get into the main meat of things. Let's see. Jared, if you don't mind, would you mind telling people what we're about to see here? The short.
So we are going to be treated to a short little excerpt from the phenomenal documentary Beyond the Curve. And for those who are unaware, the first clip that I came across was... none other than the mythical Bob Nodal. This one is his little butt buddy.
Wait, what buddy? Hold on, Jaren?
That's the one.
Whoa, hold on, let me pour... Fuck. If we're watching Jaren, I'm gonna have to, take some kind of, parasite pill to pull the fucking worms out of my ass or something.
Yeah, go take your jelly juice while you're doing that. Let's get into the stupid.
All right, let's get this going here. Here we go. Special short feature should be most entertaining. Here we go.
You have a backup experiment. If you're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard or at 17 feet off the water, the Earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the Earth's curved. So I should only be able to see it when it's at 17 feet. Okay, go ahead and drive down there, Enrique. You're going to hold the light there?
Let's close it there, then.
Enrique.
I'm sorry, what?
Let's talk about the experiment. So you have everything level. If you hold it regularly, just at chest height, you'll see the light, right? Unless there is curvature on the flat field that they're on, the level field that they're on, they have to hold it above their head, right?
Right. That would be the case. That's what he set us up with so far.
How far back would he have to be for that? What's the curvature ratio for that?
Wait for it to make it through all the lights. I mean, it would start. I mean, to make it through all the holes. That would start varying at even less than a mile, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, their overall setup. So from where Jism is at the camera to where this Enrique guy is being sent to, is right around the 3 mile mark.
Alrighty, so we've got the good setup here. So Earth is flat. They see the light at the same height off the as the holes, and if they don't, then he's saying it would they'd be on a curved surface. I think that's what he said.
Only when you hold the light up is the Earth round, right? You have to hold the light up.
Right. And if you don't have to hold it up, then it would be a flat plane. Yeah, that's what he's saying, I believe. All right.
Okay, well, let's take his word for it. Let's find out if it's round or flat.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Let's see.
How high is your light?
17 feet.
I mean, it's as.
So we should see the light here if
We don't
it's
see
flat.
you, Enrique.
Yep.
Lift up your light way above your head.
Uh-oh.
Hey, the
Interesting.
light! It's round!
Interesting there. That's interesting.
That's interesting. That's interesting indeed, Jared. Okay.
Funny how that works.
So, what I take away from this is an open admission of a spherical planet, I think.
Yeah, I have to say that the Earth is round by Jaren's experiment. Thank you for educating me, Jaren. This is my first time actually watching you, and you're very informative.
Indeed, we
Oh, it just feels so wrong hearing that.
Indeed.
He taught me, Bo, that the Earth is round. It's not my fault I don't watch any of those other content.
Look at that, and we were all set up to see some sort of breathtaking evidence of a flat plane, of a flat Earth, and he surprised us. Okay, this has been very educational. I approve. All right, well, I think that was the end of the fun part, was it not?
Yep. that was just the appetizer.
Yeah. Well, the second part, really the reason for this little impromptu get together, was that I noticed something appeared today. It was a video. George H.W. Bush, Evidence of Treason, and this was published on December 6, 2018, which is a clip from a longer one put out back in July of 2016. And the timing to me, okay, I don't need to say anymore, right? The timing offends me.
It's not just the timing. The timing are the jimmies and cherry on top of the shit sundae that is Jeranism. The fact that he had the audacity and the gall to make the longer video in the first place with no actual evidence or supporting anything to support it is even more telling.
Yeah, I would agree. And the pulling it out of the old arsenal. I mean, imagine the thought process going on here. Oh my, there's been a death. Now, whether one is was in favor of the stuff that George Herbert Walker Bush did, or one is opposed to the things he had done, it's a death. It is not the kind of thing where you should think, hey, someone has died. I can make some loot off of this. That just offended me slightly, and I use the word slightly entirely duplicitously. So, anyway, that's the reason for this little get together. Hope that explains it. Alrighty, well, on that note, let's see what he's got. Let the fun commence. Usual rules. Yell drink, we stop the video. Okay, here comes the clip.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Is anybody can tell him about normalizing audio? I mean, I'm just
Every single time we mention it. But actually, that just reminded me of something.
Oh?
So all the individual pieces for my NASA bomber jacket for International Baller Day, deliveries begin tomorrow.
Aha.
Weren't you supposed to have received some of it already today?
They were supposed to deliver today. It was on the truck, but they were lazy sons of bitches that never showed up. It's the U.S. Postal Service. Don't be surprised.
Oh, they have nothing on the Danish Postal Service now.
And I don't know. Lately, things have been getting pretty bad. Expecting packages. Where's the package? Shows online. Package arrived. Go to the post office, which is actually, we were grouped with a neighboring town temporarily. And due to popular outcry, we're being ungrouped in short order. Trundle over there. And where's the package? It's delivered. No, it wasn't. Okay, we'll check. Oh, you're right. No, it wasn't. Okay, where is it? We'll check. What? What do you mean? You told me it was delivered. Don't say it's delivered and then say, oh, yes, it was definitely delivered. So where is it? I have no idea.
You know what's funny is the scanner they use for that has GPS built into it, and they're taught to scan it only when they get to the front porch or to the parcel locker if you're like in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And people will scan in their truck by a mailbox and then walk it over to your house. So it'll show up and deliver to your mailbox, not actually your front porch, even if they put front porch.
Yeah, I believe, and that was pretty much the case. And I suspect when there's they may scan all of them all at once by street. You know, okay, I got these 50 to go. Scan, drop them all off. Anyway, but
they actually do that with Amazon packages. They're told before 8 p.m. to scan it, even if it's going to be delivered tomorrow.
Interesting.
Just have a tiny bit of housekeeping.
Okay,
Jay, you are clipping like a son of a gun. Just letting you know.
That's because
I'm on a Bluetooth, so that's why.
Okay, that explains it.
He's in front of the stove doing his wifely duties.
Well, it's the important thing is same as in ham radio, readable. You are completely readable. That's what's important. We can understand what you're saying.
But there's still a lot of QRN and M.
Okay. And, you know what? We should probably, for the continued lack of audio normalization, which, hell, I was guilty of that in some of my first videos, we will award 1 drink for the non-audio normalization. Everybody drink up. Okay, here we go. More of this stuff.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
So, what does this have to do with George Herbert Walker Bush? Well, if you've ever seen Bush talk about his recollection of the Kennedy assassination, it's definitely interesting. First, let's see him talk about it here at Gerald Ford's funeral.
Time and again, he would step forward and keep his promise, even when the dark clouds of political crisis gathered over America. After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy.
Did I miss the funny part?
Okay, Drake. You guys are usually so fast. I rarely get to make a drink call. That minor lip movement that we saw. Did you catch that the president had done when he was talking? Apparently, Jaron has interpreted that as a severe case of laughter. So that was his point.
So keeping your lips moist so you can talk more appropriately for a public speaking event is now stifle laughter.
Yes, there'll be none of that. There'll be no clear speech. Absolutely. Apparently, it's a conspiracy.
I need another mercury drink for this. God damn.
Hello. Did your order of jelly juice show up? All right.
I can confirm or deny that I'm making my own brew, and there may or may not be mold on top of it already.
I see. All right. Here's more stuff, and offensive though it may be.
What is funny about a deluded gunman?
After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy. After a deluded gunman assassinated.
Yeah, obviously, it's hysterical laughter, wouldn't you say? I mean, if I were a stand-up at a comedian at a comedy club, I would hope to see just that reaction from everyone. Jackass.
Well, there's even more to this. Do you remember these idiots that tried to make a point of one of the parents of a parent of one of the children killed in the Sandy Hook shooting, where they took the parents laughing, quote unquote, right before starting, or was it during a statement in front of a lot of journalists.
Yeah.
There is such a thing as coping mechanisms.
That is also true.
I don't know if that's the case here, but there is such a thing as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, and here he even slowed it down for us so we could see it. I saw nothing indicating even the slightest hint of laughter. If anything, it was a facial stretch, perhaps, or as Jared mentioned, wet the lips so you can speak clearly. But no. So the crap,
not even as much as a hint of a lizard's eyelid blinking.
Well, and here's the thing: looking at it again and actually paying more attention to it, that wasn't anything to do with that. But what it was is making sure that you actually fully engage the jaw, so you can speak more clearly and enunciate what you're actually saying better. It is a basic fucking practice for anyone who has even had just the entry level in public speaking at any regular or community college. Oh, wait, Jaren dropped out after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A matter of much pride, as I recall.
And also,
so you're saying that you can move your face in order to, loosen up some muscles?
It can be done, yes.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that I've been I've been part of many what should I call them? Well, courses for politicians where they learn how to engage with with journalists and so on. That entails many things. One of them is body language. The way you say things is of course essential, not just what you say, but how you say it. And some people needs the help of a bit of body language to hide the fact that they're not willing to actually basically speak the truth but avoid lying. And to do that, they can use body language. But is this really what's he's doing here? No.
It's a much too big a deal made over a minor facial gesture that could have been a stretch, could have been preparing to speak clearly, any of that stuff.
Something on his lip he wanted to move, but not want to use his fingers.
How old was Bush in this clip here?
There's something I don't.
Ford died. It was during Clinton's term.
Okay.
Ford died, if I remember correctly. So you're looking early mid 90s.
What?
Okay. Yeah.
1990s, not 90s in age.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bush at this point, he would have been.
He was born 24.
Yeah, 70 something.
Okay.
All right. It's an old man. Okay, old men. Have you ever watched an old person eat?
All right. That's. I think we're digressing a bit.
He could have obviously just been swallowing some spit.
All right.
Well, yeah. You know what? Big U is a bit of a stretch, but he does have a point that even look at fucking Hovine the bovine. he is showing his age in his mannerisms.
Okay. All right. Well, let us continue. We're let's see.
Especially as an old man, like I could definitely see him moving his lips in order to swallow.
It is possible, but in any case, both Jaren and now we have made much too much of a relatively insignificant facial gesture, which it in no way can be interpreted as fits of laughter. So, all right.
Yeah, but even then, Jaren is fucking wrong with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You know what? Let us let's make that a just plain wrong then. Cool. All right. And here we go. More of this.
President Kennedy.
Well, a smile certainly does say it all, huh?
No.
So where was George Herbert Walker Bush on that now infamous November day? Well, Russ Baker has done some of the best research on the whereabouts of George Bush and wrote the book Family of Secrets. He talks about that famous day here.
Somebody had asked him.
All right, I have seen a little bit of this from this point forward. I don't think there's a whole lot of Jaren. I think it's just a copy of this. So let's see.
Very innocuously, where were you the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated? And they expected he would tell them some heartwarming or some touching or at least interesting story. And instead he said, gosh, where was I? Gee, I just can't remember. And I thought, well, that has to be the strangest darn thing. In fact, let me ask you, anybody here who was 5 years old or over, November 22, 1963, how many of you do not remember where you were that day?
Okay, just an aside, not necessarily a drink call, but this point he just made, which I feel bad criticizing someone who's not Jaren, because Jaren's the one I'm mad at for doing this. Someone has died, let's make some loot. But now, can anybody think of walking up to someone and just on the spot saying, "Quick, 7 times 6"? And they,
He also actually he made one more point, not Jism, that is,
right,
but he was very subtle. Some people might claim that I'm overanalyzing here, but since I do have a little bit of a very small, but still a little bit of experience in filming, in the technical parts of it, how you provoke certain feelings and so on. Did anybody notice how Jeranism presented his book, and when, to be more exact? Did you notice that?
I did not notice. I would say he did it exactly when he said, "I don't know where I was," or whatever the fuck the quote was.
He faded it in right when the punchline of his John F. Kennedy punchline was.
Oh,
that would be a way of saying, hey, he actually knows stuff. He even made a book about it.
Okay.
I wouldn't be scared to claim that to say that he might just be doing that to try and amplify his what do you mean, his attempt to make him more credible in the way he is going to twist or present him as a piece of his a part of his evidence.
Yeah, that's
support his shit.
A possibility. Okay. All right. More stuff.
So, does anyone watching, born prior to 1960, not recall where they were when John F. Kennedy was shot on November 20?
Okay. We have a drink call. Please proceed.
I would love anyone to remember a detail of a random day when they were 4 years old.
Yeah, at that age, it may be kind of fuzzy. Yeah. However, his point is valid. I know some older people that. Hold on, I gotta have some coffee. I just said Jaren's point's valid. There we go.
Stop saying that.
All right, all right. Mouth is a little cleared out. I will say that anyway. See, I did not exist in 1960, and I believe nobody on the panel did, as far as I know. But anyone that I've spoken to that was alive in that time, they do remember where apparently it was such a traumatic event. They remember, where they were, where they were standing, how they were standing, and all that. But still, my point from before, 7 times 6. This. Jeez, I wasn't ready for that. The answer is cake, chocolate cake. Could easily have been that. It's not necessarily an indicator of a conspiracy. So
here's the great thing, right? Mm-hmm. What's the latest tragedy among our nation? That was 9/11, or better yet, Sandy.
No, it wasn't.
Or
there's many accounts of that too.
Yeah,
with similar cultural impact.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have no idea where I was in 9/11. I don't even remember the events. All I know from 9/11 is.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm 19.
Well, you were only like what, 2-3 years old?
2 or 3, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember where I was. Okay.
Sorry, that was that's an event that there are things exactly in my life I will never forget where I was at. And one was the Oklahoma City bombing.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly where I was at when I heard.
They interrupted my Saturday morning cartoons with that shit.
I was in the process of transferring from one high school to the next. I was sitting in the principal's office watching their little TV, and everybody was huddled around it, watching the news, waiting for the event. I'll never forget that, nor will I ever forget where I was at on September 11th when I got the news.
And even though I have at that time had absolutely no interest about happenings in the U.S. On a basic scale, I know exactly what I was doing, with whom, in what situation, and where, and how we reacted when we heard it on the radio. The 9/11.
Will my memories be that good in 2050? I don't know.
Hard to tell. But no,
but you still know everything, but just not in the same level of detail, most likely.
Well, I will have to say from the 9/11, being it was a rather horrible event. I mean, of course, just because of that, it was sort of memorable, but more so because we had two of them. Yeah, Sam, this is the nervous laughter because I'm thinking back to that day. We had two employees that were right there at that time, and hours to figure out that they were both still alive, and then we could kind of breathe again. So that kind of helped to, even though I would have remembered it anyway, that kind of helped to burn it in there. But if we look in the public chat, Terman brings up a good point with a lot of people that you ask. Terman says, do they actually remember, or is it like the millions of people who have claimed to be at Woodstock?
Exactly.
That's a good point. That is an excellent point.
Well, and it was something that I was going to go to, because there are some things that do I remember every detail of where I was when 9/11 happened? No, but I remember the big points. Like I remember what class I was in. I don't remember the room number. I remember vaguely the size of the room, but I remember the teacher being pulled out, coming back saying, "Oh my God, something just happened. We're all going to the library." We got to the library, which was maybe 25, 30 feet away out the door, and turned to the TV monitor just in time to see the second plane hit.
But these are also relatively recent events.
Relatively recent in that it was 17 years ago, and I was still in high school.
Like what was the date of the funeral? The President Ford's funeral that he's doing this speech at?
90s.
Just a second here.
Or I guess when the interview, I guess that's when it happened, was during that interview. When would the interview be? Would that also be in the 90s? Because that looked like a little bit too high def for that guy to be saying that like he was being interviewed.
That interview for the book was late 90s, early 2000s.
Actually, the Gerald Ford funeral was almost 12 years ago, December 26th, 2006.
So it wasn't even.
It's 2000.
So even then, that you're looking at like 40 something years, and that's if the interview was done around the time of the funeral.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is just looking at trying to figure out what Bush Sr. was doing at the time of the Kennedy assassination. He was the chairman of the Harris County, Texas Republican Party. Harris County is in Houston area. Yeah. If he had any job to do while the president was in town, it would probably be having things ready for the president in case he came to Houston. So where would he be during, what would he, with the news cycle, what it was back then, how would he have found out about it? The evening news at the earliest?
Radio, someone mentioning it over the radio, because they cut into broadcast. But it definitely, he would have been in the middle of doing something random when someone came in and told him.
If anybody did. I mean, yes, it's a big thing, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't try to tell him, but
yeah, I see what you mean. With the amount of responsibilities, there could have been a rapid fire series of activities that occurred during an entire day. And thinking back that long, well, geez, which one of them was it? Yeah, I see your point there.
And what even is Jism's point with all this crap anyway?
He's
part of the assassination.
Well, yeah, he's going to conflate being accurate by saying I don't remember to meaning something nefarious. Let's see
that's why
exactly
I
what
have-
that is.
All right.
That's why I have to say that Sai's nervous laughter is key evidence that he was part of the 9/11 terrorist plot.
Indeed. I participated by worrying about two people that we kind of liked. All right.
But just a retarded, claim, because I mean, everybody what do you call it? No, I can't think anymore. Again, as usual, everybody treats stress in their own way. Some people start, jumping their leg. Some people, start making, clicking their fingernails or whatever. We all react to stress in different ways.
That is true.
So this means absolutely tennis shoe. I mean, it means nothing.
All right,
Love it.
Let's see what other fun we have in this abomination. Here we go. Moving on.
22nd, 1963.
Note for the record, not a hand has gone up. So, see, he either has a really, really bad memory or there's something else going on.
Like a really busy schedule.
Drank.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's a fucking fallacy.
False dichotomy.
Holy fucking shit. Yeah. It's like, just because A is not true does not mean B.
Agreed. All right. And here we go.
I was fascinated by that, and so during the 5 years I researched Family of Secrets, I ran multiple research tracks, and one of them that I spent a full 5 years on was trying to answer this thing. Why could he not remember where he was, and where was he? Well, the answer to that is contained in 4 chapters in Family of Secrets. It may be the most explosive material in the book, and they're all facts, they're all documented, you can do what you will with them. I'll just give you a few of them just to sort of whet your appetite. On November 22, 1963, Poppy Bush, the man who later could not remember where he was, there is a declassified FBI memo from J. Edgar Hoover, and it references the Kennedy assassination, and it talks about a briefing on November 23 dealing with the assassination and Cuban exiles. Excuse me. And in this memo, it says that they were liaising with representatives of 2 other intelligence agencies, the Defense Intelligence Agency and the CIA, and it names both of those people. The representative of the CIA related to the Kennedy assassination was George Bush. That's the name in there. Now, some years later, when that document first surfaced, Bush denied that was him. The CIA would not comment because they never comment about personnel. But this document first emerged when Bush was about to be crowned the Republican nominee for president, and so you would think that might be slightly interesting. So the CIA, apparently pressured by Bush, released a statement saying, oh, no, that wasn't him, that was another George Bush, and they identified this fellow, and they said, but we don't know where he is, we can't find him. Well, that tells you something about how competent the agency is, because a journalist who lives right here in town, I'm trying to think, was it Okoka? There were 2 different journalists from San Francisco, interestingly, who were the only people who followed up on this memo and another memo I'm about to tell you about. A guy named Joe McBride, I don't know, maybe Joe's here, and a fellow named Miguel Okoka.
Oh, Pig, you have the hand up. Do you, something?
So, essentially, CIA, I'm guessing he went to ask for a comment themselves. They said they didn't know where the person was, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Isn't that like the default thing if you just don't give a fuck of the person and you're just not interested in the conversation, is just saying, I don't fucking know?
I would imagine.
So, a funny thing about this, when I was stationed in the middle of the Mojave Desert, I'm talking about like in the middle of no fucking where whatsoever, I randomly looked up my last name just to see if there was anybody, not related to me, obviously. I mean, people can have same last name, but not be related. But my last name happens to be super, super unique. And there was a guy with my exact same name that lived within 20 miles of where I was stationed in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Coincidences like this do occur. The name George Bush is not that unique. The last name Bush, I'm sure every major city has 10,000 Bushes, and at least one or two of them are going to be named George.
I would think.
I would imagine they would have been called, women's names, but that's just me.
All right, you. It's not Friday night. Okay. And moving on.
So when they contacted this fellow, he said, that wasn't me. And in fact, the story of the other George Bush in itself is so fascinating. This is this world of mirrors that we don't really see. We all rush out to buy the pot boilers and the made-up stories, but the real stuff is absolutely as good or better. This George Bush was this fellow who wasn't even in government, and he was recruited by the CIA in 1963, put into a low-level training position. He said he never had any briefings on anything. He worked there for a few months, until shortly after the assassination, and they got rid of him. So he was only employed by them exactly in this period where the other George Bush could not remember where he was. In any case, so that memo is one memo. The same guy couldn't remember where he was. According to this, he was a CIA agent having something to do with Cuban exiles and information about the Kennedy assassination. There's another memo that has come to light, and this one is relating to actually November 22 itself. On 1:45 p.m., according to this FBI memo, a phone call was received at the FBI's office in Houston, strangely enough, not in Dallas, where the shooting took place. The man who called identified himself as George H.W. Bush, this time with his initials, and he gave his home address, and he said, I'm from Zapata Offshore, which was his company, and he said, I'm calling with possible information on who shot President Kennedy. Okay, now this is the same person who years later was president of the United States and couldn't remember where he was. So now we've got him not remembering where he was. We have him working for the CIA in one memo, and in the other one we have him being a private citizen and an oilman calling a different FBI office to say, I'd like to offer a tip. He identifies a...
Paused.
It's hard to hear in this type of hangout we're having because of, there's a noise gate, but the background music on during this, I at first I thought it was a some clown act circus routine, but I can hear that it isn't now. But what is that music?
Well, it is Jaren, so it is a clown show.
Yeah. But what I'm thinking is this a since I can't really hear it, is it a type of derogatory thing, or is it a?
No, it's meant to make all of this seem more ominous. It's ominous music, so that's what this is.
Oh, again, I can't even hear what type, what type of music it is. So I just had that clearer.
Alrighty, very good. Was there somebody else? Nothing. Okay, moving on.
He says,
and I have no comment. I have no statements on the veracity of this memo. So
no, it's all just claims, and until there's corroboration, it's just a claim.
Here's the thing: I've dived into some of the release records just for shits and giggles, going through them, like when the JFK files were released, right? Going through the archive, there's so many bizarre fucking files you can find where it's literally anything that they can gather with it being an intelligence agency, right? So you could go through, Lee Harvey Oswald's like fucking train history of wherever he's been and make a story off that. There's so many, minor files that to the untrained eye look, significant because it just has a key few names.
Agreed. And I would say, in addition to that, it's a heck of a lot easier to come up with something that sounds like what your conclusion is if you start with the conclusion and then go looking for things that support that. Then
where does that take my mind?
Flat Earth? No, something interesting about those files, though. It goes into Lee Harvey Oswald's history and how he was connected to a Cuban ambassador, if I remember correctly, or embassy.
Okay.
And it's just an entire, fucking history of Lee, and that's just like 6 pages. So the amount of shit you could just make up from, not having the full story and not knowing the full context and the entire timeline.
And that's just it.
Yeah.
The archives, the National Archives now, I think, has released all the records, if I remember correctly, because Trump didn't sign off on keeping them secret longer. In April.
Are you saying that Trump actually, well, inactively, but actually did something that is good?
All right, let's stay apolitical here. Let's just be.
Well, no, I'm not trying.
I said Trump, not a political party.
All right.
But no, from what I remember is that the National Archives, archives.gov, has all the records about the Kennedy assassination released.
Yeah. And those are the ones that I went through. It wasn't a embassy. It was actually a hotel.
Oh, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Am I correct in claiming that if there is something that is redacted, they still have to show the entire, in a big file or a big document, they have to show every single piece of paper, but blank out the parts that needs to be redacted. They cannot just take whole pieces of paper out. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you can have an entirely blanked out page, but the page will still exist. Yes.
Yeah, and but they have to show that page still.
Yes.
But the whole thing about the release of the records is that they're supposed to be completely unredacted.
Okay. Alrighty. And and the other thing about gathering all these, again, starting with a conclusion and then looking for things to support it. You don't have to have things that 100% support it. If you have 1,000 documents that sort of hint that what your conclusion is might be accurate, that amount of evidence will be enough to write a book and sell said book. Which this individual we're watching now, selling a book. I'm good with that, and he's got to do what he can to get his document out.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing of having an intelligence agency is it gathers intelligence. So it's going to gather anything in any way, shape, or form across any political person at the time, right?
Indeed.
So, future presidents, if it's related to the event, they will have a collection of data on it. That's their job.
Indeed. And when
we're talking about thousands of man hours going into these pages, right?
Yes.
Go figure, there's going to be connections.
And
that's
there's
the point
also
of an intelligence agency.
Yes, and at what state any sort of investigation or collection of evidence is in at the point that you extract the information is important as well, because the gathering of information, as you said, is broad brush. It's get everything you can, all the details you can. That is later subjected to a review to see what is valid, what does not belong in this, what needs to be included and what does not, to try to make the point you're trying to make. And earlier on, there's a whole bunch of white noise that may not apply, but may include something that you need to support your your conclusion that you've already made. So.
Oh yeah, and I like how I know the people who can't make comments are very quiet right now. So let's continue the video.
All right, let's do that. Here we go. More of this.
Heard that he may have been threatening the president. I really don't know much about.
Oh, and by the way, look at the positive side of watching this fine fellow. The longer he talks, the less Jaron talks.
This man, but good luck with that. By the way, I'm calling from Tyler, Texas. It's 1:45 p.m. Put that in your records. So I started studying what it meant to be in Tyler, Texas at 1:45 p.m. when the shooting was at 12:30 and so forth. I later found in a Barbara Bush. Now we all know Barbara Bush is a very sweet lady and would never do anything bad. But Barbara Bush in 93, 94, right after they'd left the White House, she published her memoirs. And in her memoirs, she suddenly remembers for Poppy where they were. on November 22. She puts in a purported letter that she had been writing that day to her family, where she's under a hairdryer in Tyler, Texas, and she hears the horrible news that the president has been shot. I study that letter, and I suggest in Family of Secrets that that may not be a real letter, because she addresses it "Dear Family," and we tried to figure it out. There didn't seem to be anybody
That's
that
how.
could have been
But drink, fucking drink. That's how that generation spoke. My grandparents still talk. Well, my maternal side of my maternal grandmother, who's still alive, it is very much spoken that way.
And just for shits and giggles, how old is this guy? Do you guys think? In his
50, I don't
40s?
know. He might be really high stress. Like, I imagine him in a room with papers, taped to the wall.
And strings?
So
Strings all over the place, too?
Oh, yeah.
In different colors, even.
I see.
One of the things, speaking of Tyler, Texas, one of the things about that place is I know people who live there. It's just an average city. It's off the coast of Houston. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing really government about it. It's just your average city in America.
Well, that's what they
Can I make a slight correction to that? Tyler, Texas is nowhere near Houston. It's actually about an hour and a half outside of Dallas, east of
Dallas. That's the one.
Yeah.
My bad. You guys have like 2 major cities, and it's too complicated for me.
2.
Well,
Two exceeds your
Tyler's
capacity.
actually, it would. I'm trying to think of a metropolitan area it would be considered. There's probably a couple 100,000 people there.
It'd be more like a Tacoma to Seattle type of thing based on
Yeah.
It's nothing special. It's just like a residence, essentially. But yeah, I get Houston and Austin mixed up all the time. So
Dallas,
close enough.
and Fort Worth.
Yeah, see, that's exactly the point.
San Antonio. It's a nice big triangle right through there.
Bermuda Triangle kind of stuff.
Three of the
Hang on.
largest 10 cities in America.
Steve Bauman, I've never heard of Texas. Is it a third world country?
Yeah.
And that brings me right back to the Miss Miss Universe or whatever they were. No, Miss America pageants with the Texan blonde.
All right. Hey, how about some more of this foolishness while we're on the topic?
I got one more comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Look at that old lady. There's something wrong with her. I can tell she's fucking full of demons.
What? All right. I suggest we hit play now.
She was throwing up the little devil sign just a second ago in the like a few moments ago when it showed that still of her with her arms up.
That's
her arthritic hands, if they could, they'd be making the devil horns.
It's not crippling arthritis.
Exactly, team. Think of that picture of her with the hands out, and then think Star Wars.
Oh.
And think of a certain very wrinkle-skinned guy with a cloak with a hoodie.
All right, so we're saying Illuminati confirmed. That's what we're saying. Okay,
yes.
Moving on. Here we go.
It was not written to her children. She was estranged from her own family. We could not figure who that was. And in that letter, she drops little hints of things, but she misspells all of the names. So I think what's going on here is that if somebody like me should ever come along and start putting the pieces together, and we say, hey, what about this? They could say, hey, we were open about it. I said I had lunch with Doris Ulmer. But what she doesn't say is, who's Doris Ulmer? Now, I went and I studied, and I found all the Doris Ulmers in America, and I figured out who it was. Her husband, and it says, dear family, I had lunch with Doris Ulmer. You may remember that her husband was so kind to George when he was in Greece. So I thought, well, when was he in Greece? And what was he doing?
Super chat, Stephen Bauman. It's all a Mason Illuminati conspiracy for Texas independence. Zap zap. Cool. Thank you, Steve.
But what are they transmitting with a zap zap?
Oh, that's a reference to that long series of experiments in Sunday Science with Tesla coils, Van de Graaff generators, things of that sort. Steve's really a fan of really long, really dangerous electrical arcs. he's a big fan. So
you should visit someone called W1CW, I think it is. And while that person is, transmitting on maximum power, just see if he has the guts to touch the tip of the A radiator.
That never turns out well. All right, moving on. Here we go.
I have a comment on that.
Oh, go ahead.
I can confirm nor deny that I may or may not have shucked between my taint and the base of my penis in front of Landon Knoll, Red Eye, and a bunch of people within the non sequitur Discord server.
All right, looking at the list, I see someone has inadvertently let Pig in. Hi, Pig. All right.
Hi.
All right, moving on.
Did he know this man? So I tried to figure out who her husband was. His name was Al Ulmer, and he was one of the CIA station chiefs in charge of removing leaders of countries. And he was living abroad, but he just happened to visit the Dallas area that week. Okay. Anyway, I've got, as I say, 4 chapters. This isn't time to go through all that, but I hope you find that interesting. I tried to write Family of Secrets in a way where I just lay out these facts. They're all documented. They're really indisputable. By the way, if you've been online, you've seen some of the reviews. I've been attacked for providing these facts.
For obviously, for misrepresenting the facts, yes, some people are going to be kind of pissed off about that.
I would imagine.
And what does really the facts mean? Why not just say they are the facts?
It's his interpretation of the facts.
Hint.
Agreed. All right.
Is that a Wikipedia page there? That they're showing on the screen?
It could very well be. It's got an edit button, so all right.
You know what? Somebody try doing a standard Google search for the second and third shot Oswald. Just part of the text, and maybe even put wiki in there as well. And you never know. You might just find it.
Indeed. All right. And on that note, if anyone has had time to grab a sequence of words from it, let us move on.
Questions the official Lee Harvey Oswald story. What did the term he use? You have to question their state of mental health, I believe he said. This despite the fact that the House Select Committee on Assassinations in the 1970s actually concluded in their report the high probability that there was a conspiracy. This is Congress concluding that. They just couldn't figure out who did it.
Okay.
Fucking again with the false equivocation. I mean, can this guy not just make conclusions out of thin air?
That was kind of a stretch there. That there was a conspiracy. We think, therefore, it's this one that I'm okay. I think he's got the skills. Yes, I think he's got the skills necessary. All right. Here we go. I'm glad this is a short one.
So I know you're asking me, what does this have to do with Philip Graham?
Yes,
I'm almost there. If you don't know, many people have already connected Bush to the Kennedy killing. These photos certainly appear to be George Herbert Walker Bush standing outside the Texas School Book Depository immediately after Kennedy was shot. But there is no record of Bush working in the CIA at that time.
So it's
George
all
Bush is
just conjecture, you dipshit.
Indeed. And, okay.
one of the very few people who cannot recall where he was at the time of the assassination. He was 39 years old at the time and chairman of the Harris County Republican Party and an outspoken critic of JFK. But on November 21st, 1963, he was staying at the Sheraton Hotel in downtown Dallas and spoke that very evening to the American Association of Oil Drilling Contractors.
Okay, so we've established, if all that's accurate, that he had a reason for being there. That's what he said so far?
Yeah, and even then...
All right, so if we accept all that as accurate, which I cannot refute it, so I'll just accept it as accurate. He was at a hotel, and he was at a hotel specifically there because he had a presentation to do to a group. All right, so he was there because he was supposed to be, and then
therefore conspiracy.
Right, and miracle of miracles, there was something big going on at the time, and we happen to, gee, it sure looks like him. Well, let's say it is. Have a picture of him. So he was there. He was supposed to be there, and we have a picture of him there. And
hang on. Who is being observed by they? From a piston-based airplane right now. I do believe I heard a piston engine. Guys,
well,
run.
So which out of all those guys in the photo, which is the one that's supposed to be George Bush?
The one on the far left.
I thought it was one on the far right, or the one in the middle, or the one with the hat.
See, I was distracted by all the badass hats.
Yeah, those are fucking great hats. You should
those
get
guys. They just knew how to rock fedoras, man.
There was some styling going on. All right, and here's more crap.
Sometime later, he was also reported at the ratification meeting at the home of Clint Murchison Sr., receiving last-minute instructions and toasting JFK's murder the night before it happened. For that info, see Madeline Duncan Brown, who wrote the book Texas in the Morning. It was corroborated by Nigel Turner in Part 9 of The Guilty Men of the Man Who Killed Kennedy. George Bush was more than likely recruited in his college days at Yale when he was part of the Skull and Bones Society, and he and his wife Barbara moved to Houston, where he ran an offshore drilling company, Zapata Offshore Company, which was a CIA front with rigs located all around the world, making it very easy for him to vanish for weeks at a time on CIA business that no one would ask what he was doing. Bush was a major organizer and recruiter of the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was codenamed Operation Zapata. Colonel Fletcher Prouty, former Pentagon high-ranking official, who was the basis for the Colonel X character in Oliver Stone's JFK, obtained 2 Navy ships for the operation that were repainted to non-Navy colors and then renamed Houston and Barbara. This FBI memo dated 22nd of November.
He forgot to include the fact that there were 2 guys in there that did not have black bow ties. Isn't that part of the conspiracy too? One was whitish, and the other one was, had a red tint to it. Why didn't he's probably a should I say it? Communist or something.
So
That's what this file's about.
So you weren't supposed to notice. You were not supposed to notice that. Now we're gonna have to kill you. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay, Di, you know where I live, but try and catch me. Try and catch me.
Well, can I come by if I bring beer?
Yeah, kill me with beer right. Or the vodka I talked about earlier.
All right,
right now would be a great time for someone just to knock at your doorbell, just like a family
with a beer in hand.
Yeah.
The trailing pug. Okay, moving on.
Number 1963 states that Bush called from Tyler, Texas, but that is no proof that he was actually there. The memo, however, does tell us that the first moment that Bush...
we have a drink call.
Yeah. Oh, I found that. I found the images of this memorandum, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Nice. So just because he made a call from Tyler, Texas, doesn't mean he was there. Does he remember what generation of telecommunications this was?
Right.
You mean
the other thing I like is how they'll stretch so fucking far to link one coincidence as like a definitive proof, but then they get something like, oh, he called from a phone in Tyler, Texas, but how do we know he was in Tyler, Texas?
Okay, I think I figured it out. So the CIA had someone drive to Tyler, Texas with 2 of the old style crank phones, right? You then tape the speaker to the mic to the speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you dial the CIA and you dial Bush at the same time. Bush is waiting for the call. The CIA isn't. Or wait, not the CIA. Or whoever the fuck he's calling.
Well,
so he picks up first. And then they communicate back and forth.
Actually, there might just be one. And it's very weak. But still, there might be one possible way of doing it. Look up freaking. PHREAKING. Look it up.
Familiar with the old hobby.
Yeah, it's very unlikely.
Freaking is the old word for hacking, isn't it?
Well, it's the PH. Coincidentally, the first 2 letters of phone. Yes, it's phone. It was phone hacking. That was
phone central hacking to be exact. Yeah.
So
it was a way, for example, to get free phone call, long distance phone calls, and that kind of thing.
but phreaking was mainly involved to like connect to direct computers instead of going through like a actual connection through your ISP.
No, this is way before any such thing. It was a completely separate. By the folks that were doing it, it was basically a hobby. Completely separate. Oh, look, Cajun Crustacean makes
all this only with after a proper authorization.
Indeed. And we have a super chat from Cajun Crustacean who has donated 666. Thank you very much. Just wanted to tell you all good luck. We're all counting on you. Very nice.
Yeah,
all right.
He said that him and Mrs. Crustacean are planning on naming their first child Team Skeptic Crustacean. So
I see.
Mad props.
All right. And
they have to be made of plastic still.
No doubt that child will also have a channel bigger than me. Okay. Here we go. More stuff.
I wasn't gonna say it this time. I was gonna let it slide. I know how sensitive you are. Everywhere I go, I leave a spray painted tag on the wall that says size matters.
Nice.
And
all right.
Dan is still bigger than you.
And here we go. More stuff.
To create a phony alibi was at 1:45 p.m. Bush was staying in a downtown Dallas Sheraton hotel just blocks away from Dealey Plaza, yet he's trying to tell us that he was in Tyler, Texas at 1:45. Bush's CIA assignment was in Dallas. That's why he was staying there. So what would he have been doing in Tyler, Texas? JFK had been shot at 12:30 p.m. Would Bush not have been in Dallas at 12:30 p.m. as well, like everyone else, which was presumably the reason for having him there in the first place, staying at the Dallas Sheraton Hotel? The alibi for November 22nd, 1963 is clearly fabricated, and we have evidence that shows he was there.
Hold on.
Don't you need an alibi if you're accused of something? Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, didn't he say that George Bush was in Tyler, Texas to deliver a speech?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what he was doing in Tyler, Texas. I'm sure he didn't speak to nobody. I'm sure there's plenty of people who saw him there, which would make it physically impossible for him to be part of a conspiracy in Dallas at 12:30 and then also be in Tyler at 1:40.
Well, don't forget, we had that grainy photo.
Well, speaking of those photos, so in the actual video from 2016, Jeranism does have links to the CIA document, another CIA document, and
I clicked on those links and they went nowhere.
Yeah, fucking nowhere.
So you can't just list citations; they have to actually be citations.
Exactly.
So about Bush being in two places at once, you have to understand this is the CIA and the Illuminati.
Of course,
they obviously cloned Bush, right, and had the clone go do the speech, right? Or like at least a reptilian shapeshifter.
No.
We've got Lisa for Truth has it right. They have the Anunnaki time travel machine.
Damn it, you beat me to it.
What time travel machine?
Anunnaki. All right. And this is probably a good time to remind everyone that although we are engaged in critiquing this thing, the main reason we did this is because we're annoyed that the occasion of someone's death was used to, hey, let's dig this up out of the past and maybe make some loot. That was the real purpose of tonight. But having said that, let us continue.
That means that he was lying and probably an accessory to JFK's murder. Bush maintained for 20 years that he said he did not remember.
Can anyone else see the problem with this comparison here?
Oh, too much.
A plus, I don't fucking know, equals C. I understand it, Jared.
The chin is wrong, the nose is wrong, the eyebrow ridge is wrong.
The vein.
Hair, yeah.
Yes, but
that's a perfect representation of George. You have to understand, when you have a clone, they're not perfectly alike.
Now, why would you guys are going out of your way to ignore evidence that is being provided to us graciously? Look, if we look to the left, this is a photograph, obviously, of a male. If we look at the photograph on the right, it is also a male. More than a coincidence? I don't think so. Conspiracy confirmed.
Yeah. Speaking of evidence,
yes.
Some of the awesome people in the chat may have just given us the correct Wikipedia link to the document we were watching earlier. I don't know yet, but it's from. I'm going to murder this name. Shivanshu Prasad or something like that at minute 44, a non-wrench.
Yeah, those pictures are two completely different people, two completely different nose structures, chin structure.
Too bad we can't see the ear.
Yeah, you can't see the ear, but you can see the brow, how the brow kind of is longer than the eye in the left picture and shorter than the eye in the right picture. But the nose, big time, like the nose is pointed down in one and up in the other. The chin is pointed out in one, and the left one, it's not even. I mean, I guess
I'd love to see the original photos for those, because I do have some somewhere. I do have a piece of software that can extrapolate different angles. A picture, and make, what do you call them? It's basically an attempt of it can ascertain the angle of the camera in relation to an object. If you have more than what, if you know the angle of a different object. These two photos, if you know exactly the more or less exact angle of one of the pictures, that would be picture number 2, for example, and you tied that to the first of those pictures, it would be able to extrapolate the approximate angle that the first picture was taken in. And I do believe I would be able to take that piece of software and use it to find out what angles we're talking about, so we could see if the nose structure or the shape of it actually is the same or not, because the dare I say it, perspective matters.
Yes.
In terms of what looks like angles, it could be because of the shadows that it looks different or the same. I mean, I would call the jury out for that one still.
Okay.
Don't ever
You
use
got it
that
all
word
wrong,
around me.
You have to understand, right?
Yeah.
Like if you ever watch Futurama, you understand that the professor and the fucking kid, what's his name, Hugo or fucking Hugh? I don't fucking remember.
The young clone.
Yeah, they don't look the same, and that's because by cloning someone, right? They're never going to look the same. Yes, it's the same genetic code, but it's different environments and different growing areas.
They're only exactly the same from the point where they were cloned.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so this is a clone.
Maybe. Well, actually, Heat Shield points out, just look, the ties don't even match. Okay. Yeah, that's... All right. Let us... I know we're kind of hesitant to do this, but let's hit play. Here we go.
What he was doing at the time of the assassination, but all of a sudden, he then concocted a story that he was speaking in Tyler, Texas at a Rotary Club when he was told of JFK's death. Does anyone think that makes sense? That Bush was making a speech at that time in Tyler, Texas to the Rotary Club after the president and Governor Connally were already known to have been shot at 12:30 p.m.? President Kennedy had been scheduled to give a speech at lunchtime at the Dallas Trade Mart.
I'm not sure, but this is dangerously... I mean, it's being that it had to be displayed on a screen, I think this is the equivalent of one of those garages, as was mentioned earlier, full of pictures with the strings going from one to the other all over the garage.
Told you.
Like
I told you.
Yeah. It's
maybe the Rotary Club's logo is one of the Illuminati's secret logos, perhaps.
Hold on. So, wait. Okay, if you look at the fucking bottom left, right?
Okay.
Your fucking ears don't stop growing. There's a reason why old people have such huge fucking floppy ears. You cannot compare an old person's ears to someone from like 50 years ago. That's not going to work.
I think it's weird when hair pokes out of it. And you're like, say, bro, can I just pull that shit out for you?
Yeah.
Hey,
I wonder if it
they'll never say yes.
Well, you know what? To be honest, ear hair, and I'm not even kidding, they do act as the rat fur on a professional microphone that's been prepared for outdoor use.
Really?
It catches the wind, so you don't hear that.
I had always assumed it was mosquito netting or something of that sort.
Well, there's different ways of doing it. But.
What the fuck's the top left photo?
I always thought God put it in my grandma's ears to tickle my face when I gave her a hug.
All right, what'd you say? What's the top left?
Yeah, like what are we looking at? I see blur.
That's and on the original. It's a blur here too. I see 3 arms. What looks like one of those faces from the Pink Floyd The Wall movie, and
the one on the right looks like a penis, kind of.
It might, it might be. All right.
Like, is this what outfit was Mrs. Kennedy wearing when there was the shooting?
Her shield dress, maybe.
It wouldn't be
her satanic garments.
Is that supposed to be like a zooming in version of his ear? Because it's then connected at the bottom. There's if you follow it, it goes right down, right, and then it's connected to the old bush, and then the younger dude.
I wonder what we'd find in the safe, the right down safe that is unlocked by this picture.
I don't know, man, but we have to let's go through this photo. There has to be something here.
You would think it's got enough red squares.
I know, but
and it also no. But you're missing it. The red squares are meant to divert you.
Oh,
you need to be looking at the yellow squares.
Oh, the yellow squares. Yeah,
I see.
I didn't even know there were yellow squares until I stopped looking at red squares, and I was like, "Whoa! It's right in front of my face. The answers all along."
See, I just assumed.
Did anyone get a sudden urge of disgust? Oh, hey, Red.
You get that now? That's weird timing. Looks like you're being disgusted now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Reds, you're muted, by the way.
So yeah, I know. I don't know what this is. So what is this again?
Oh, fill you in. This was actually, we're all annoyed as all hell because Jeranism had taken the opportunity of someone's death to put out a video on that same person, George Herbert Walker Bush.
Are we looking at your floor, Red?
Yes, you are. It's really nice, isn't it?
Can we see your toes?
No, but what you can see is that. There we go. Much better.
Aw. Wanted to see your toes.
Anyway, while I'm wearing socks, it's cold, and fuck you.
All right. So yeah, that's it. We were annoyed that there's been a death. Let's make some loot. And that was already addressed, and now this is his conspiracy theory that George H.W. Bush was in on the whole Kennedy thing. So that brings us up to and here let me summarize all of the points that were made so far, just so you're not falling behind by Jaren. Okay, that's it. That's about all the points he made, and there you go.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So Red, you're the perfect person to ask. The first bottom 3 photos. Now compare them and explain to us how they connect.
Well, in order for me to do that, I would need to have my head up my ass. So the person you want to ask is Jeranism.
That's what the photo is. Okay. Now, if you look at it carefully,
my head is not up my ass.
No. Look at the top left.
Well,
right?
wait.
It's like a tarp with a huge, fucking wet, sloppy shit on it.
By the way, I found the photo. Just
okay. All right.
Yeah. Listen,
had a lot of shit, but
Jeranism. This isn't the first time Jeranism has done shit like this. I mean, we all remember the San Bernardino terrorist attack.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, but still, I think back to the days where he had the decency to, when Stephen Hawking died, he took down that old video. Remember the one where he criticized him for having a debilitating illness? Remember that one?
Yeah.
But somehow he must have.
Somebody found it very unlikely.
Yeah, he must have hit his head or something, because when Stephen Hawking died, he went in and removed that one. I don't know where that flash of decency came from, but apparently it's gone.
It came underneath the threat that, you know, if we got on his ass last time for just everything he got wrong in that video, we would get on his ass even more so this time around with Stephen Hawking, considering that not only is he demonstrably wrong on everything that he has said, but he's also being a dick to somebody that achieved more in his life with a debilitating disease than he ever will in his entire fucking life.
Times 10.
Indeed.
Times 10 over. You know, he would have to live 100 times over to even get a fraction of a single fucking percent of the shit done that Stephen Hawking did.
Indeed. Alrighty. Well, I think we've stared at the red boxes long enough. Shall we move on? Here we go.
I don't know that I want to.
What's with the red boxes anyway?
That's evidences.
It's a distraction.
Those are evidences boxes. To distract us from the yellow box.
Evidences.
Yes. All right. Moving on.
After he had passed through Dealey Plaza. So everyone who was anyone around Dallas was going to either attend that speech, or they had already heard about these shootings and were paying attention to local news concerning the gravely wounded president and governor. A speech being given in Tyler, Texas, inside of a building owned by right-wingers to a group of Republican JFK haters hardly qualifies as evidence that Bush was not in Dallas, Texas, where the available evidence suggests that he was on assignment for the CIA and was supervising the second-floor Dow Tech hit team.
Oh my. All right.
So, I want to start by saying that, like, it's like the worst evidence of to say that, like, this whole group of people, like, I can understand, like, the whole NASA argument. Oh, they compartmentalize, they this and that, and they just tell each other and it's fake. But he literally gave a speech to Republicans, like a large group of people, to get all of them to lie and say, hey, everybody, we have to say George Bush was here. He was the one that killed the guy. So we need to be sure to tell everybody that he was here so he didn't get in trouble. Like, that's way more unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Oh, super chat from NA. Thanks, Si. I'm sure I'll be late for work. So you're welcome. You're welcome. All right.
Can I add something here while people are talking without their hands up?
Yeah, I should mention, because there's a small, polite group of us, we're not the usual movie night thing. We haven't really been insisting on the hand thing. It's basically been working out just at
What's a hand thing?
Oh, that's in the in the thing we're using. There's a raise hand button if you expand the participants list. But for a small group like this, where we're not all nuts like movie night, it's really not necessary. We've been doing fine so far.
Then,
so
as the caller of drink. Let me work this around. Mr. Bush was not actually a member of the CIA. He was only its head, and he was appointed there by an earlier administration. He was not, in fact, in Dallas, Texas, and he wasn't even in a position to really coordinate an assassination of Kennedy.
Okay, so you're saying you doubt the credibility of Jaron's claims? You know, we should get T-shirts that say that. I doubt the credibility of Jaron's claim. Yeah, all right. I'll have them printed. Okay. And on that,
I want one because, yes, in fact, what he's saying here is completely out the left field.
You think?
Actually, it's not even so much left field as it went over the foul line on out there in left field, way outside the stadium, which apparently had a roof on it, and destroyed a bunch of windows in China.
Okay, that was possibly the longest metaphor I've heard in recent days. Okay,
I got a question. I got a request.
All right.
Since we have a few more people here, could we go over the 55-second clip?
Oh, you want to see that again? All right. Well, that means we are going to have to, unfortunately, the way things are, we're going to have to remember where we were in this one because we've only got one player running. What
time is it?
Hold on, I'll put it down here. We're at 12:54.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we're good.
How long is that video anyway, Si?
About 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay, we're doing. Then in that case, we're doing good.
Oh yeah. Things have been going swimmingly. That's
All
what.
right, Red. This video is for you.
That's what happens when we have a panel of not screaming drunks. You're going to enjoy it, Squirrel. Trust me. People can actually speak. It's cool. All right, here's the short video you all saw before, but it's definitely worth repeating. Here we go. Let's send this to the Great Beyond temporarily, and we will bring up this little.
I see white. There is a gun.
Here we go.
Don't go into the light.
Quiet.
You have a backup experiment. If you're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard or at 17 feet off the water, the Earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the Earth's curved. So I should only be able to see it when it's at 17 feet. Okay, go ahead and drive down there, Enrique. You're going to hold the light there. Enrique, how high is your light?
17 feet.
I mean,
Note, not visible at 17 feet.
you know, it's as, we don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Holy crap!
And Side Strike.
Yeah.
The thing I sent you on Twitter is exactly about this.
Oh, all right. Let me go take a look. In the
Might be
meantime,
pertinent to use it.
So, Reds, what do you think of that clip?
It looks just like the one I saw a few weeks ago.
Oh.
You really don't think I'm up to speed on this shit? That's cute.
No, we're not up to speed. We're just wanting your opinion.
I think he just wanted your comments.
Oh, my opinion, the same as it's always been. He is a bullshit artist, and the fact that that people are still convinced by this douchebag just shows how easy his audience is to scam. You know, I feel sorry for them. I'm sorry that they were either born stupid or have the stupid trait or genetic code, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's whatever, but you know, it's like at this point, if you are still giving this douchebag money, you deserve to have really shitty finances.
So, do you think it's reasonable to request that you play this at the beginning of every video just for shits and giggles?
You really think it's every? I assume you mean every Jeranism video. I don't want to be. I do not want to be reminded of him every time we play
not
any
every
video.
single time, just every Jeranism.
You just gotta know, Jeranism is a bullshit artist. At this point, he has been debunked and eviscerated so many times, both in video format and in live debates. It's clear that even he doesn't believe this shit. In fact, he actually slipped twice. One there, and also actually a few more times than that. He slipped in saying that, you know what, it actually is more reasonable to believe that he's full of shit instead of actually knowing what he's talking about. And it's more reasonable to believe that the Earth is round, that NASA doesn't lie when they say they're doing shit, like landing shit on Mars and stuff like that. And also that he doesn't have a model that works. He said this to me live, both on the Non Sequitur show. So even with all of that, this dude still wants to push a flat Earth bullshit conspiracy. Even with those admissions, he still calls us sheep and shills and gullible people out there. And he's the one out there saying that actually it is more reasonable. So we're gullible because we don't believe that which is the most reasonable. Go fuck yourself, Jaron. Seriously, find a 10-foot pole, add another foot to it, turn it sideways, wrap it in barbed wire, drench it in battery acid, and shove it up your ass.
Yeah, actually, Red, I got a better one for you. What does NASA stand to lose by lying?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything.
And everything is how much of the budget?
Well, still, no, actually, if NASA was found to be lying to anywhere near the degree that Jaron seems to want to claim, it would just be gone. It would be
pretty much
removed.
Oh, and here's
everybody that's ever been in administration there would wind up on federal criminal charges.
Indeed.
It would
All
just
right.
happen.
Here's the image that Bo was kind enough to send us, which pretty much sums this little clip up very nicely. I don't know if y'all can read that. You know, we'll put the link to the picture in the description. How's that? Alrighty.
All right, back to the video.
Back to the video. Let us get back to
12:54.
Indeed, so shall it be. Let us dispatch this.
Hey, Si, I gotta get going, man. I'm tired as fuck, and I got customers all day tomorrow too.
Oh, no problem. Well, thank you for joining us, and plus you got to keep an eye on that big channel, right?
Yeah, I gotta go manage it.
All right.
Shave down the unnecessary hairs on it, and make sure it's all nice and faded.
Not a problem. I'm doing my best. I'm growing. Hopefully I'll be a big channel like you one day.
Well, size does matter.
And so I hear. All right, good night. Thanks for joining.
the bell next time, all right? We need it.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
man, y'all take it easy.
Good night. All right, let's get this nonsense back up and get it to the right timestamp. Here we go. You shut up. Okay, 12:54. That is right.
Okay, can we do 13:54 just for shits and giggles?
I like how he makes videos that apparently have been approved for open-minded, thinking human beings, yet his mind is wired shut.
Indeed. All right, here is starting up where we left off.
I wonder he always has a brown stain underneath his ears. That's the only way the shit can leak out.
We're in a bit of a mood tonight. All right, here we go.
We are.
Here we go. More stuff.
Director J. Edgar Hoover.
I raised my hand.
You did?
Yes. I snuck in here, raised my hand.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me know that. All right. And moving on with the video. Here we go. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Brooke, since you just joined us, I'll point out, since we're a small group and this is not movie
We're no
night.
longer small.
Yeah, well, the group is growing, but it's basically a polite bunch of folks, and there's not a lot of over-talking going on, and nobody's just starting to talk while other people are talking. We haven't really bothered with the hand thing.
I was trying to follow the rules.
No, that was good. That was good. And you just made it here now, so you had no idea. Anyway, Brooke, go ahead. Annoy us.
Okay, I will. Oh, so you want me to start singing? Okay, I'll sing my point. No, I'm joking. But
we did.
Go ahead, Brooke.
I was going to say, you mentioned nonsense and with Jaren's video. I haven't seen it, but I've seen enough Jaren to know that nonsense actually makes sense compared to
comparatively
this.
What we should do is not call it nonsense, just call it no sense.
I can agree with that.
All right. Anyway, we're at we don't have much more to go. The torture will be over soon. We're at like 13 minutes out of 19, so here we go. Let's see what other facts await us. Okay, wait a minute. Let's see what facts await us, I meant to say.
John McBride in 1988, but written just 7 days after the assassination, provides the verification that George H.W. Bush was an officer of the CIA in 1963 and was provided with updates on an anti-Castro Cuban.
All right, what do you got, Squirrel?
Okay, this little piece of paper here refers to a Mr. George Bush, not a Mr. George H.W. Bush for a start. And as it happens, there was a different George Bush who was in fact a CIA agent from September 22nd or so of 63 till sometime the middle of the following year. I forget exactly where it was, but he had a completely different middle name. I forget what it was. It's not a question of George H.W. Bush. It was there was in fact a completely different one that was a temporary civil servant, a probationary civil servant.
Well, there was a reference to that earlier on in this video, but it was basically it was described as
several months.
Yeah, recruited, trained, and then booted. So, all right, very good. And here's some more stuff. Oh, and to remind everyone, Jaren's a dick for bringing this up in relation to the death of George Bush. Okay.
George Bush has said this memo was referring to another George Bush because he didn't work for the CIA at that time. But while there was another man by that name, that other man was a file clerk and would not have been receiving memorandums about the Bay of Pigs operation. And other information has surfaced showing that George Bush in the document was indeed George H.W. Bush and had the same address. In 1976, President Ford appointed George Bush as director of the CIA, replacing William Colby. Bush served in that role for 357 days from the 30th of January 1976 to the 20th of January 1977. Bush falsely testified before Congress that he had never worked for the CIA, and it was widely reported that this was the first time that a civilian would be appointed to run the agency. But George Bush was no civilian.
Okay, what do you got?
First off, George is not a civilian. He was, in fact, a naval aviator. And as for the rest of that freaking claim, Jared, citation fucking needed.
Okay. Very good.
I have a feeling. I don't think Squirrel likes Jaron too much. I can't tell.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see as time goes on. Maybe we'll be able to get a better impression. All right. And here's more stuff.
And it appears that he is a CIA lifer, probably recruited right out of Yale. George Bush was also a close friend with George de Mohrenschildt, including that they were both members of the Dallas Petroleum Club. And after de Mohrenschildt was found shot to death the day before he was to be questioned by Gaetan Fonzi for the HSCA reinvestigation of the deaths of JFK and MLK in the late 70s, Bush's name and address were found in de Mohrenschildt's address book. Bush, George, H.W., Poppy.
Okay. What do you got, Squirrel?
All right. Well, let me put this as simply as I can. The Bush clan, such as it is, made its money in oil. So the idea that de Mohrenschildt would have had George's name and address in his freaking address book is completely over the side. You have if he didn't have George's name and address, that would have been surprising. Not this.
Okay.
This is the fact that information existed at that time was not considered of any consequence at the time because George was a supplier of crude oil. Oh, what a concept!
Indeed. All right, and more stuff. Here we go.
1412 West Ohio, also Zapata Petroleum, Midland. CIA documents reveal that during the planning of the Bay of Pigs Operation Zapata, de Mohrenschildt made frequent trips to Mexico and Panama and gave reports to the CIA. His son-in-law told the Warren Commission that he believed de Mohrenschildt was spying for the planned Cuban invasion. George de Mohrenschildt, notably, was Lee Harvey Oswald's best friend and appears to have been his handler after Oswald was brought to Dallas in the fall of '63 when he was finding work at the Texas School Book Depository.
Pause, okay. Go ahead, Brooke.
Or at least maybe pause. Oswald was well known in his dislike and distrust of the U.S. government, especially because of Bay of Pigs.
Well, here's
also a Cuban
side note for you.
Hold on, Brooks. Hold on, Brooks. Brooke, go ahead.
Okay.
He was well known, if I remember correctly, Cuban sympathizer and communist sympathizer. I mean, it's just what he was. If I'm wrong, Squirrel, correct me. I don't know if you were going to. If I was wrong on something, but if I am, this isn't my knowledgeable point on history. So sorry if I messed some up.
Yeah, with the latest CIA JFK files that were released, he had direct ties to Cubans due to the Cuban government due to a hotel.
I can actually tell you. I can give you a little bit more information on Oswald. He was in fact at one point a Marine sniper, and the reason he distrusted the United States government and was trying to work with the Cubanos was because he got fucked after he did a thing he was not supposed to do. He was actually court-martialed for this.
I didn't think. I thought he was just a marksman. I didn't think he was a sniper.
Yep,
because that was always one of the points.
He was in fact a Marine sniper. He got himself. He managed to get out there. He managed to get himself in a position where he was exposed, and it cost another Marine fire team. It turned another Marine fire team into a complete kill. Every one of them died.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't think he actually. I thought he wasn't that good of it. All right, I was wrong then. I don't know a lot on this, so I Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a thing you learn when you're. It's actually not. It's a thing that I learned when I was in school for something very similar. Okay,
Okay.
right. School for the same damn thing.
Alrighty.
Curriculum.
On that note, let us see what else we got.
So the facts are simple. John F. Kennedy died that day. It was a CIA hit with many of the Secret Service and other prominent businessmen and rich elite in the know. Lyndon B. Johnson knew.
Okay.
A conspiracy that size would be impossible to contain for any real length of time, and you don't have any evidence, only a claim that the CIA had anything to freaking do with it. Citation fucking needed.
Well, I don't know, Squirrel. Did you see the grainy picture?
We got to see JFK get slaughtered live on TV one morning, and people were afraid to change the channel for the next 30 years.
I have my own little conspiracy on how Kennedy got killed.
Oh?
It probably has something to do with the fact that he was in a car with no roof on it.
Yeah, that'd be a place to start.
Yeah, I mean,
and there was. I will say this, and it changed a lot of policies and protocols. I mean, it's sad that it took this to do it, but the way the Secret Service were positioned, was completely. They weren't in where they normally would be now. It's because of this that's how they got positioned, because they were supposed to, I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but weren't they supposed to have two on the back, and they moved them?
See, here's the thing. They do that now, and that's because Kennedy.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I thought
that was actually the cause of it.
Okay.
I thought they wanted. Okay, go ahead, Squirrel. Sorry.
Yeah, no. The Kennedy assassination is why they do that now. It was actually changed in the way the Secret Service did that, put together their formations after the assassination.
Yeah. I thought that they wanted them there, but they moved them to another position on the car or something. I could be wrong on that. This is not my knowledgeable point of expertise. Is this part?
No, don't worry. It's neither Jaren's, but he's making a video about it.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that's why I'm going.
All right.
Right now, Jaren's on my turf.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
just a small question here.
Yeah.
Today, at least when I can't remember which of the presidents visited Denmark, the Secret Service, etc., came to Denmark a couple of weeks before POTUS landed, and they had, for many days, snipers posted everywhere, and most likely also lookouts. I imagine that they have, anonymous onlooker. Sorry. What would you call them? Agents, spread out all over the place. When the motorcade goes through, and they have only one purpose, and that is to look for people who are not there for genuine reasons. What about back then? Did they have that type of tactic? With
not so much. Usually they came in for a couple of days and kind of scouted out the route, had a good look at what could be done, where things could come from. Nobody considered the book repository at all.
Yeah,
they didn't even think that might be an issue, and that, of course, was their mistake.
Yeah.
What about the standard for a couple of people having swivel heads and looking at the crowd?
They do that now,
Yeah,
and they usually had folks in civilian clothes wandering around in the crowds. The first sign of a gun, however, that was everything. It was over.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that type of level of security.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, that level, having people in the crowd's always been a thing.
Yeah.
That's been a thing since the Secret Service was incepted, and before that, they actually had military personnel that did that shit.
Who can be identified from a long way away just by that.
Military personnel were also sent out to be in a crowd amongst in civilian clothes. They'd be dressed like everybody else in the neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Let us.
I have one little thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Alongside of why JFK was actually shot, my conspiracy theory is he was going to expose the reptilian overlords within the Illuminati, and it circles back to what we were talking about before. So let's go ahead and continue the video.
All right, but I will just say, dude, if that statement you just made further delays my shield check, you, my friend, are in trouble. All right.
Don't worry about it.
Moving on. Here we go.
I mean, I was told.
Moving on.
All right. Here we go.
He was to become president that day. It was a planned attack and carried out by several shooting squads, with fatal blows coming from the Dow Tex building and the curbside gutter. They then went through a massive cleanup to alter the autopsy to show the cause of death to be from a single shooter. The patsy, Lee Harvey.
All right. Go right ahead.
Squirrel, I'm going to ask you this because I'm not sure off the top of my head, but how many shots did Oswald fire? 3, right?
3 shots in under a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, it was only. He fired 3 rounds inside of 10 seconds with a bolt-action rifle. It was really kind of interesting. But here's the thing. With this particular image, with this particular frame, as a couple frames earlier, what you saw was Kennedy's head snap back, and that's because the bullet went in towards down to the skull. It went in through the back and came out the front. And so what you have is the neck will just snap back real quick, because all the force is being that's where you would have would happen is the force comes in on the back, and then you have a force amplification when the front of the skull blows out.
Yeah.
So what you would have, all you would really see is the head go forward just a bit and then snap right back. And to see the head go forward at all, you'd have to be filming at an extreme speed. We're not talking about 24 frames a second for TV. We're talking about IMAX speeds are better.
Yeah.
And Brooks
and that would explain why there were multiple rounds that hit him and the other people, and a lot of people like, well, how about this? This line doesn't match up. Actually, it does, because if you look at where he was at the time, it matches up.
Well, even then, you actually, even if it didn't match up, if you have a round going through bone, you're gonna get some deflection. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know at least the round that went in his shoulder went through the scapula, out the front, and then came out the front at a different angle, and then got the governor.
Yeah.
All right. This is I hope you've all enjoyed this episode of the Brook and Squirrel Show. We'll be back again next week with. All right. You know what?
This is the part side strike.
Yeah.
Do you remember that long conversation we had late at night where I told you it's perfectly okay to piss on a few shoes if it means moving the show along?
Yeah. And furthermore, we should move along. Yes, I recall. And we should probably move on because spending too much time with this particular scene on the screen and going over it in depth as we have been may be painful.
Graphic detail might actually have an effect.
Yeah, maybe painful. Some older.
I'll stop.
It's not like it. Good. It's not like I was talking or anything. That's good. Good, we covered that.
Continue the film.
Here we go. Moving on.
Oswald. Whether Lee Harvey Oswald was killed or not, that I don't know. But Kennedy was killed.
That I don't know. But trust me, I'll make some shit up in the near future. All right.
Oh,
Frank.
All right. What do we got?
This is obviously not my show. Peace out, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining, Reds.
Bye.
All right.
Jack Ruby put 5 rounds in freaking. I think it was either 4 or 5 rounds in Oswald. He died.
Yeah, I was thinking.
He died.
Okay. All right. And We have a super chat, and it's a good one. Zero says, "I vote for replacing moving on with piss on shoes." All right, well done. Okay, here's some more Jaren's crap. I think he's wrapping it up now.
Somebody was in Dallas, Texas, orchestrating the hit, with several teams in several positions, plus cameramen ready to take pictures of shocked onlookers, and Zapruder at the right place at the right time with the right equipment gave us the right story they wanted to tell.
As evidenced by silence. There we go.
Am I the only one that has a clenched fist with his name on it right now?
I'm kind of grinding the teeth, and I'm not a tooth grinder. All right, we have a drink call. Let us augment the counter and go right ahead.
Okay. Yes, the media was there. The president of the United States was having a motorcade. That's just the way it is. Same thing with any other cameraman that might have been present. The scene where the little segment there where you had somebody coming out of a sewer grate, that was in fact that was most likely a Secret Service man that had been down in that sewer to make sure that there was nobody in it.
Could be.
Come on.
And I have a correction.
Oh, go ahead.
Something. The this is from history.com, so you know I'm getting it.
All right.
It was a fatal. It was as talking about when Oswald came into the room, Jack Ruby emerged from the crowd and fatally wounded him with a single shot from concealed .38 revolver. So Ruby only shot him once.
Okay, my bad.
Pretty much dead center. So.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't sure.
I stand corrected. I thought he'd actually managed.
I thought he did 4. I thought he pumped 4 at him, and then they grabbed him, but I was wrong too. So I was curious.
Great.
Well, your curiosity actually helps out because that means I will not have the wrong information next time.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thing. Definitely, we want to make sure we save all the wrong information for this show. That's perfect. All right. What could be better? Anyway, all right. So, all right. Very little of this left. That is most fortunate. And then we'll do a roundup and see what everyone thinks of Jaren's theory and his frightening his frightening impoliteness at dragging this up right about now. Here we go.
It was definitely a planned attack, and somebody was there to oversee it all. And so what does this have to do with the death of Philip Graham? Well, it wasn't so much the death of Philip Graham as much as it was his funeral.
Oh.
As I was researching and trying to find out exactly whether Philip Graham was killed or whether he committed suicide or whether he had ever talked to Kennedy in those last final days, I found pictures of his funeral, which looks like just a normal funeral with Kennedy coming out until I looked a little closer. Now, I'm not saying I'm the first one to find this, but I've certainly never seen it before.
This story.
The only image that I've ever seen that shows that George Bush may have been part of the CIA before the record, or he states, was that picture of him in front of the Texas School Book Depository. This picture, also from 1963, seems to show that George Bush was indeed part of the CIA or Secret Service.
Yeah, the lady in the back, or the feather.
It's the one to the far right.
All right, yeah. Here we go.
And doesn't even look like the guy in front of the book depository. So.
And in addition to that, one person standing next to another person does not mean one of those people are CIA something. I mean, I don't see any CIA ID or anything. I mean,
no. And,
they're in a suit, damn it. They have to be the feds.
Now, at least I have to give him this. He did not go the route where, the George Bush Sr., a.k.a. Poppy Bush. Apparently that's something that he was called. I don't know. Some people claim that. Poppies, as in follow the heroin trail. I'm looking at one of the possible sources for Jism's crap here. At least he didn't go that route.
I would say
if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
If I may, Philip Leslie Graham died in August of 1963, not in November. And the idea that George Bush might have actually been present, well, okay, so what? He's a Texan, and he was associated with our government at that time. Why would he not be? He was also a major figure in Texas because, well, oil. So why would he not be there?
Croc, are you saying that a former president, before he became president, was associated with the government?
Ooh, what a thought!
Holy shit!
So that was.
But Graham was actually the publisher and later the co-owner of the Washington Post. Okay, so it's just he was a newsman. He really was. And the man was actually known to have been bipolar. The idea that he shot himself is not completely out of line. The chances of that actually having been, the idea that he was assassinated was considered and was promptly dismissed. The man died on August 3rd, and by the 6th or the 7th, when this picture was taken, there was really not much in terms of questions.
All righty. And we are closing in on it here. The last 2 minutes of this nonsense. Yeah. Here it comes. Oh, I'm sorry. Brooke,
I was just going to say, Squirrel pretty much answered what I was going to say. I was like, you got a wealthy businessman, a well-known newspaper, personnel. It wouldn't be uncommon for them to probably know each other and for them to be friends. And so you would go to your friend's funeral.
Indeed. Not, and none of that implies conspiracy. All righty. Well, here we go. More stuff.
1963. I don't think you can argue.
Cue the ominous music.
I don't think you can refute the fact that that is definitely George H.W. Bush in 1963. And therefore...
Okay, Brooke, what do you got?
Complete and utter bullshit. That is not even wrong.
All right, good enough. That's all right. And here we go.
That old man should not see the light of day. He is a traitor. He is a killer. He is a piece of shit and should be tried and found guilty.
Okay, this close to the man's death. Republishing from years ago, something with that in it.
Republishing and adding on to it.
We had a little fun doing an ad hoc, debunking. Not full effort, but we had a fairly good time. But this pretty much exemplifies the reason for tonight's special edition movie night. Is it's not just fun and beers; it's anger for death. Someone's death.
I've got a better one for you. Because that picture wasn't taken in Texas. It was taken in Virginia.
JPL. I'm thinking about the one of the NASA video feeds that JISM also used to prove something. I'm imagining that's from there.
All right. Anyway, all right. We're in the tail end of this. No doubt there'll be a little self-promotion. We'll see. What are the odds, huh? Let's see what he's got.
Of treason. I no longer think his son misspoke here. I think it's the way the Bush family operates.
Drink.
Our enemies are innovative and...
All right, I heard... Who called that?
That sounded like...
Hey, Tornado's here. Hey, how you doing, young fella?
Sorry if I showed up to the party late.
That's okay. We were hoping to wrap it up before you even showed.
Just don't eat the microphone. That
was actually the plan.
Like you're trying to.
All right, go ahead, Tornado. You seem to have something to add. Please do.
Why, Jaren? Why do you have to disrespect the dead already?
Agreed. That was just saying that was the whole purpose for tonight. We had a little fun doing a little debunking, but it's
Jaren, you seriously need to just shut your mouth.
Indeed. That would be, we can only hope. All right, here we go.
Resourceful. And so were we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
And that was
all right.
Pause it real quick.
I have
That
a question.
is actually one of the things that we do. We play word games. We find our vulnerabilities to help secure America.
Indeed.
We try to outthink them and to, create a safer America by doing that.
Yes. You have to be able to visualize what can happen so you can prevent it from happening. It does make sense.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that like I did CAP, and one of the things that we did in there, or one of the things that could be done, is some missions that we fly are that our pilots would fly would be counterterrorism, and a lot of those involve going into restricted airspace and simulating other, like, smaller aircraft. Like if someone were to try to use a smaller aircraft or something, and and they would simulate what you would be able to do and how far they could get. So it makes perfect sense to do that.
Yeah, and you would expect such a statement referring to that. That's good. Yeah. And all right, well,
I have a question here.
Oh, go ahead.
I would imagine that in most countries, certainly here, probably also in the States, if you physically assault a person that is of no public significance, he's just the guy down the street. You get the police on you and blah 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 blah. You end up with a certain amount of imprisonment, for example. If you do that towards a person of that holds a certain amount of power, let's say the president, you would be thrown in a hole and left to gather dust, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be thrown in a hole and left to right. And if you're lucky, they might not cover up the hole next.
Yeah, and and there are specific reasons why, attacking a public person that is in, I forget the word, but in public service, because they have to, they have a, that's why, right? Now, would that be the same for, I don't know what I would call this because it's a matter of terms and how you define them, defamation, or, I mean, if Jism did this to the guy next door could, kick his head.
You mean Jaren's actions in producing this nonsense?
Would that not be something he could be? Well, you can sue anyone for anything, basically.
Yeah. It's
Here's the problem. Defamation in this country has a very strange sort of definition. It is very difficult to prove.
Yeah.
And as a result, he probably just get away with it.
Would you have to be able to prove intent?
That's one of them.
You have to have foreknowledge that what you were saying was not true, and I don't think it would work against any of these wacky conspiracy theorists because they can. I mean, they can just their lawyer can claim that they're freaking unstable. And
I mean, in Denmark, a couple of years ago, there was an attempted murder of Salman Rushdie. Now the guy was. I can't remember what it ended with. It's too long ago for me to remember it. But he was charged under the Terrorism Act. I can't remember. Again, I can't remember what part of the criminal law that it is.
Sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but can we get that logo off the screen?
He was he was charged with terrorism.
Okay.
Now, if again, I can't remember the specifics, but say the guy who did that. Say he was just, 2 cows short of a bicycle. In other words, just a complete nutter.
Yeah.
He had one thing in his mind, and that was, I need to kill that guy. Nothing more, nothing less. But he would still be able to be charged and convicted of a terrorist act. Would that work the same way in the U.S.? Because if it is,
not really.
I can't say we're and That's a little bit.
That's a conversation for
Yeah,
another day.
that's a long one. Maybe we ought to pass
It
on that
sounds
for a
like
moment.
it depends on how much you pay for your lawyer.
I did
yeah.
have a question for Squirrel, and I was thinking on something what Bo said about the training and that, like what they do. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't military personnel, like the more secret the black ops or whatever you want to call them, those
SOS.
specialized ones, don't they run don't they run test runs on things? Like if they suspect an attack, they're gonna look at all vulnerabilities and try and pinpoint them.
Well, they
Or
certainly
just
do that.
see-
They certainly
or just
do
penetration
that now.
test.
If you're
Like
talking about the Secret Service, then yeah, they tend.
Not more military, like let's
Okay.
say.
Can I answer the question, please?
Sorry.
You formed a question, and now I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Which I already answered.
Indeed.
So actually, what goes on here is, yes, they do occasionally have, especially in important situations, they will have operations teams that will try and break security. It's not all that hard. It's actually reasonably common. Most teams of that type get that sort of thing. I of course can't give any details, but at the same time, yes, even in that day, you would actually see some of that. You probably see a lot of it. For the record, folks, Mr. Graham put a 28 gauge shotgun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. And that is definitely not a hard thing to do.
That's just
He had actually had by that time he had been fighting the manic depressive situation for years. 1957, he had a severe manic episode, and that was pretty much the end of his career, to be honest, or at least most of it. That's
alrighty.
And Brooke, think of it this way: for an investigator, from the police trying to solve a murder, one of the absolute best ways of doing that is to try and think like a killer, like a murderer, and go through the mind, even the mindset, and what happened up to that point. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the murder itself.
Yeah.
So it is a basic way of stopping the bad guys. Basically.
Yeah, I know a little bit on that. I have one friend who is a detective in a homicide department, and he's kind of told me a little bit about that. He's like, he goes, there's just some things that I just don't like about my job because I have to put myself in the mindset of this, and I don't always like what I end up thinking.
Well, let's just say I have heard an interview from a criminal investigator that was investigating child porn.
Oh God, I would not want to be.
Horrible.
Oh no, I wouldn't even want to go there.
Issues with there.
No, that's.
Think about it. They have to look all that stuff through all that stuff.
Guys, topic.
Sorry.
Back. How about that? How about we get back to the original topic, which is Jaren's a jackass for
some boots.
Jaren's a jackass for bringing this up again this close to the man's death. Whether or not he approves of what he did or doesn't approve of what he did as president, before, after, whatever. This was a truly offensive thing to do. I don't know why it surprises me. We've seen it before. So
and apologies from my side. This kind of stuff brings my piss to the boil. So sorry for ranting.
No.
I think all of us are like that. I don't know much on George Bush's presidency. I mean, pretty much the most I know about him is read my lips, no new taxes. That's about all I know about him.
No, see, that was a common mistake. What he actually said. Wait a minute. Was that? Yeah. No. Everyone heard it because there were taxes that came about after that point. He didn't say anything. It was not no new taxes. He said no nude Texans. And did you? And at no point in his presidency did you witness at any point during his presidency a nude Texan? You did not, did you?
What?
So
Well, he's not that Texan.
all right. Anyway, yeah, that was on the fly too. Jeez. Anyway,
So, may I do final words?
Close your fly then.
you know what? Why the heck not? I think that sounds like a fine idea, and we'll wrap it up. Go right ahead.
All right, Jeranism. Now, if there was a god, he would have an infinite supply of dry, crusty magma. I wish that is your potato chips from this day forward. That all you can eat is dry, crusty, old cum in your mouth magma for the rest of your fucking life.
Okay. That's not where I thought you were going with that, but okay.
Really?
Bye, everyone.
All right. Good night. And that's it, everybody. Thanks for joining. I hope you're as disgusted with Jaren as I am for bringing this up at this time. And on that note, we'll say goodnight. Everybody in the public chat, thank you very much for joining us once again. I know this was kind of didn't have much notice. I appreciate you coming, as always. And on that, good night, everybody. It's been great.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let us
That's
bring
how you fucking do an ending.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, Jake, you want to tell us how you truly about Jaren? I don't know if I caught the gist of it. I don't know if I really understand how you feel.
Listen, I don't want to, get in any trouble, so I can't tell you how I feel.
Okay.
You don't want to get science trouble. It's most
But that's just, the tip of the iceberg of what I would do to him.
Yuck!
All right, so what do y'all think? Were you convinced by Jaren and his arguments, aside from his dickishness at bringing this up at this point in history? What about his evidence? What do you think?
But he made claims. He didn't make any arguments.
To be completely honest with you, Si, I didn't see an argument. There was no evidence.
No. We see that a lot, don't we? Where whether it's flat earthers or conspiracy theorists, where they make an assertion and the assertion is their evidence.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. There's actually an equation for this, right? So it's A plus B, which is missing, C, which is missing, D, that is missing, E that is missing, F, G to Z, etc. Equals conspiracy.
Conspiracy. Respect my conspiracy.
A without B to Z, essentially.
Indeed.
Pig, your goal. Drunk, you home have to drive.
I understood what you said, Bo.
No, memes are cancer. No is the answer. No is the answer to your question. No, never has any evidence.
Yeah, well, Si, I'll answer your question with a question.
When did Si ask a question?
He asked if we were convinced.
Yeah.
My answer to that is, do unicorns exist and fly and fart rainbows in reality? No? Okay.
All right. That's pretty much it.
How far you're willing to
Better ask Karis about
catapults, some duct tape, and like a bunch of glitter. You can make it happen.
Wow, that was so twisted than what I was beating.
All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time, and don't forget what a jackass Jaren is.
Fucking torture's over.